Good afternoon. I'd like to greet you and each one of you for taking the time to make your way over for this great, awesome event. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brian Jackson. I work with Latham Public School in the Cultural Connections Department. And part of that vision is we got a partnership with the LDF Education Department for Waaswaaganing First Nations Teaching and Learning Institute, which is located in the LDF Education Department. I'd like to take the time before we get into our prayer and our opening song is to have gratitude to the Woodhouse Arts and Board of Directors, Dr. Donna Murray Teague, Executive Director, and Cindy Conlon for their vision and effort to bring communities together around the beautiful weavings of American women created by Mary Burns, to plant more seeds of education and understanding across cultures, so more meaningful relationships that can blossom. Without further ado, let's get into a little bit of prayer. I'll give you a translation, then we can have an opening song by some of our singers, which are my boys. So I want to say, bonjour, and Mommy Duke. She out there using the cause of what's the sea, strong, and not being down. Get you money, do what it costs, boom, and them, do a page, the last one, the master, the king, and all that. The coach, has been great, she would. Zana Winnie Mission, Zana Mission, but you can know, Madusha Nemaskauzi when Madusha Nemaskauzi when Madusha Damoan, Ghana Winnie Mission, Ghana Mission, boom, you know, bang with up on a whole same one, what they call into a Mommy Duke, Waaswaaganing, Eagle River, Home, which she got bathed. First and foremost, in our etiquette and protocol, we take care of this and we always acknowledge that one God that we always pray to. We call him our Great Spirit, our helper that sends those messages up. Thanking him for today, as our grandmothers and grandfathers did, asking for that knowledge that's to be shared. Also, extend his hand to watch all over us today. And also, too, to watch when you're sailing, safe travels home. We will have a traveling song later. That's part of the etiquette, too, so folks that are traveling long distance. And also to ask for that health and strength and that good life that we're seeking here today. Part of our etiquette, they're going to sing you a flag song, and part of that is we're going to ask you to please rise. This song is equivalent to our national anthem and how we begin our events and our initiatives.
Yeah.
Which boys may have a seat. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Jessica.
We've been looking forward to being able to gather together, share what we can from the Ancestral Women Performance Project. And so one of the intentions behind the Warehouse Art Center is to bring people together, to bring community together, and to build relations. And so following on Mary Burns's terrific lead, and for those of you who don't know, Mary Burns is here today with us as well. She is the talented and gifted weaver who made each of the jacquard weavings that are in the other room, and that's what's represented in these banners here today. But taking a lead from the weaving, we're going to try today to weave together our communities in a good and a better way than we already have.
Oja-Media, Waaswaaganing, welcome to you all here today, and was to give a vision of how we all came together as ancestral sisters here. And Carol and I have seen Mary Burns' weavings, and she said, wouldn't it be great if we have a live theater, representing each one of our 12 tribes here in Wisconsin. So behold, and there we went, Carol had a lot of good ideas and going to different reservations. I don't know if anybody's familiar with reservations, but we're put there by the government and to live there as wards of the government. And but each tribe has their unique government, and we're happy, be connected with each other. So I hope you're going to open your ears and hear a lot of good things today from the ladies, because throughout the history of our people, they have suffered a lot of things in our life, and through their prayers and their enduring life, enduring ways, that we are here able to stand here today and share with you the vision, which was about 2017 or 18 that Mary Burns did her art. And she came to my house, and I was recommended to be part of this vision. And so she came over, and with her husband, they brought some of the visions of their weavings. And then she asked me if I would be part of the group. And so as well, I had to pray about that. And so we did a pipe ceremony, and then I joined into the, then she's having her opening in the Visual Arts Center in Waasa, so she asked me to come there and be part of that. And then she said, would you do the opening, and then also would you read some poems, write a poem for it. So I got the poem here that I'm going to share in a little while. This poem is called Ancestral Women of Creative Spirit. We got a lot of fun together. Okay, imagine our elders from a long time ago. It took a lot of prayers to get this poem. And I think of our Haiti Anishinaabe, Waaswaaganing, and our grandmas and great-grandmas, and what they went through, and how we are today. We are the great-grandmothers, grandmothers, mothers, daughters, and aunties, Haiti Anishinaabe life givers, cultural bearers. We are the red woman earth vessels. We are the sound of eagle whistles and the heartbeat healing love in the backbone of our families and local reservations or urban communities, representatives of our states. We embellish our aura with love, keeping native culture alive even through assimilation. Two paths, one living to keep our Anishinaabe culture by ceremonies, pipes, sun dancing, moon dancing, Maday, big drum, water walks. The other path, church, school, government, councils, committees. Both paths are the major concern for the future generations, leaving their individual legacies. The drum beat life, like the smudging cedar. How the Great Spirit, Ojaniemi, blesses survival from our ancestors' source of life, by hearing their prayers of the past, present, and future. The Oja-Media Way are the center of their homes and connectors in a tree of spiritual life. Also, the relationship of Sky World, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, the circle of life with 4 seasons in the 4 directions. Their lineage, direct descent from our ancestors, our clans, our names reproduced, with the perception, reality, weaving the values, women of leadership given intricate teachings to live and help their families. We are listening for our guidance which concedes the understanding of our way of life. We are reflecting the prayers of our Gete Anishinaabe grandparents years ago. We have great humbleness for reverence to our great spirit creator of all. The awareness that we are in the Creator's presence, each moment is sacred. Capturing woven images of ancestral women bring honor by dignity. A breast reverence, awareness thus reflect many life endurances. Strong hearts filled with love and kindness from Weaver Mary Burns, Miigwech. Thank you.
What we'd like to do now is have some storytelling from each of these beautiful ancestors that are represented in the banners before you today. And so we'll start with Barbara representing the Ho-Chunk Nation.
This lady here is Emma Pettibone. She lived right after the removal period in the Dells area of Wisconsin. When Mary did this was actually the first weaving that was done. Interestingly enough, apparently our Tribal Heritage Preservation Officer had selected the picture, and so not that much is known about Emma other than what you see here and the fact that she was a master basket weaver and bead worker. Along with that, you can see in the weaving itself this concept of applique. And the applique represents quite a few things, including a history that goes back to the Mississippian tribes, which we're a part of, back 1,000 years. Emma was quite a lady, and with that, beauty has been defined in Ho-Chunk as how hard your hands look in terms of the work that you've done. That was considered beauty.
Bonjour, Anishinaabe, me jacquard indigenous, makwa nindoden, odawa saigan, ning dindunjiba, nigani beneshi kwe, nigani benesh, medewe gishigu kwe, zagiwin, and ogaba benesh. Good afternoon. I am from Lakudere, near the town of Hayward, Wisconsin here. And I'm going to be speaking for my wet aunt, Jacquard Clear Sky. She is from the Lakudere Reservation here. Right off to my right, Lucy Bigay. These two ladies and Harriet, I'm going to stand to the left side of the second and third ladies. These Ojibwe women, they were born in wigwams. Back when our grandmas would be the midwives. Back when they delivered the babies. And they also went full circle and cleaned and dressed the deceased full circle. Our reservation's about an hour apart from each other, west and east. And these ladies have gotten the food off the water, the wild rice that is going to be coming up here in a few weeks. That's why water is so sacred, as it's the first gift to us women being born. This dress that I'm wearing, these women have sewn by hand the different material that they received for many different regalia pieces and blankets for ceremonies. They have fished through the ice. They have speared in the springtime the beautiful ladies, one bead at a time, that represent the country that we live in, the floral work, the plants, the traditional medicines that are out there. They are all designed on our regalia. If you can imagine the different pieces of all their work. These designs are passed down through our families. The beautiful handwork that they did. To be just standing here in front of them and their legacy and their memory is very touching to my heart, because we're all here together. We're preparing to have a better, healthier world. That's how I look at it. And the more times that we can share our culture with each other at these kind of events, we'll have a better world for our children. Their grandchildren, these are the ladies that were in the boarding schools and they survived. I am also a survivor of a father. I am also wearing a medallion that I received this weekend in honor of those children that were found throughout the residential schools of Canada in the United States. It started out as 215. It jumped to 1,000, 2,000, up until 5,000. The beautiful handprints that we represent. The sound of water is the gift of life. Our children are now being heard. The sound of these cones make the sound of thunder. As we all know, we cannot survive without water. But through all the struggles they went, they're very powerful women. To be strong at heart. Look at their smiles, and their smiles in their eyes. Holding their grandchildren from the Fish clan and the Martin clan. Beautiful, beautiful Ojibwe and Anishinaabe women from the Four Seasons. I'm very blessed to speak for both of those sisters in a way. Just like our ladies here, we're all ancestral women sisters. We support each other that way. So I really want to thank Ojaniemi, the creator, for this sacred time today to speak for my grandmothers and my wife. Miigwech.
Appreciate your words, Becky. For those of you who don't know, she's an experienced and gifted jingle dancer, and she's a beautiful storyteller. So grateful for your words today. I'll invite Kristin Dowd to come up next and share with us.
This morning when I got here late with my tribal buddy, it was determined that we needed to talk about someone, and I was asked if I would talk, and I said, I can represent Bad River. My name is Kristin Dowd, and I'm a tribal member from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. In a roundabout way, I've returned to my reservation, and one of the roundabout ways was I lived in Bad River, Wisconsin, which is another tribal community here in northern Wisconsin. If you stand in Bad River, you can look to the south, northwest, southwest, and east, and you will see all of our relatives. We have sisters and relatives in Red Cliff, Mole Lake, Forest County, Oja-Media, and so we're representative of that. The two ladies that are depicted on this weaving, and I met This lady, late in her life, she was born in Bad River. They call that Mushkazibi because it's the medicine river. Her name is Marie Webster. She was born in 1935 during the Moon of the Wild Rice harvesting. She was delivered by her grandmother, Juliet Bennett Shabayash, who is this lady in the background, Cecilia Rebecca Bennett, and her father, Raymond Webster. She joined a family that would eventually include 8 brothers and sisters. 2 sisters. By the end of World War II, due to lack of work, the Websters moved to Milwaukee. At age 16, Marie went to work for Western Tobacco at a minimum wage of 75 cents an hour. She joined the Marine Corps and was a very proud veteran in establishing pride in women veterans. We have a number of beautiful women veterans representing our communities now. She had her first child, Terry Francis Webster, in 1958. In 1960, she met the love of her life, William Gillane Jr., and they went on to make their home together for 25 years, having 2 children before her husband Bill died in 1989. Marie was a trustee of the Congregation of the Great Spirit Church for 20 years and is the keeper of the women's drum at the church where she sings every Sunday. She has told her family and friends that singing has kept her strong and healthy. When Marie was getting ready to walk on, her daughter invited us to her home. We did not know that day that she was going to begin to take her walk on her spirit journey. And so we went over to visit, and we had something to eat, and we shared in talking and laughing and visiting her mom, Donna, in her bedroom. She was bedbound at that time. And she had periods of being able to understand us and talk to us. And at one point she says, "I'm hungry." And her daughter said, Donna says, "Well, what do you want?" And she said, "Manoman." So her daughter had some wild rice, and the wild rice that she served her was rice that I brought, and it was from Bad River. And that was her last meal. And later that afternoon, when she peacefully walked on, she was, you know how they have in the newspapers, you say, surrounded by family. She was indeed surrounded by loving family, sisters, relatives, cousins, family, friends. It was beautiful. Julia Bennett, this lady right here, she says, if you're going to do something, do it properly. When Julia said this, the something was to be done in an Ojibwa way, whether creating a piece of beadwork or knocking wild rice. Because I lived in Bad River for almost 30 years, I was able to go wild ricing. The last time I went wild ricing was when my son was 12 years old. And there were 2 other canoes, and the race was whoever gets the most wild rice pins. So my 12-year-old son and I got the most wild rice, and we won. And that was the last time I wild riced there. I've since wild riced on non-tribal lakes, but that's another story. In terms of being an ancestor of our peoples, I attest that all of the women that you listen to today are strong women. There's no way we couldn't be strong because we're still standing. What history has done to us and how we've gracefully walked through some of that and the hardships we've endured make us extremely strong women, ancestors. In that regard, we've taken the responsibility and the obligation in our own communities to raise strong, healthy children and beings.
Right. Next up is Donna Van Zyl. I welcome you to come forward.
Honored to present on behalf of my grandmother here. I'm going to read this first and then I'll share a little bit. Mary Loveness, whose name was Waaswaaganing, meaning first light rays of the day, was born on August 20th, 1910 to Bensack in Charles Loveness of McCord Indian Village. She had an elder brother named Matikwa, meaning bull. Mary and Matikwa were both fluent speakers of the Potawatomi language. Waaswaaganing attended Pike School Indian Training School and also Hansville, which for Pike School opened in 1893 and closed in 1953. Aside from academics, she learned a variety of other life skills, including sewing, gardening, cooking, and nursing. In 1927, she married Isaac George Galsack and had one child, a daughter named Arlene Nigansack. Shortly afterwards, Waaswaaganing was a community contributor in fostering parenting, passing on her learned skills to younger ladies. She served as a midwife, delivering many babies when called upon. She began her spirit journey on March 16, 1984, and in June of the same year, her husband followed her, her grandfather. Waaswaganing's devotion to her community, her knowledge of traditional skills, and her work as a midwife were important threads that rooted her in place. For her portrait, Mary highlighted Waaswaganing's floral beadwork. When I say Mary, I'm speaking of Mary, Miss Mary Burns. Thank you for your artwork here. The floral beadwork on her traditional regalia by drawing out the patterns and laying them in as a border.
I'm going to share next, and I'm going to share regarding this young woman. Her name is Polly Moore de Groot. My name is Jessica Ryan, and I am Brothertown Indian. Some of you might not have heard of the Brothertown Indian Nation before. Our community is on the shores of Lake Winnebago. Originally, we were located on the eastern shores of the United States. Our community came together to live as brothers. There was a lot of warring that was going on, and we were trying to avoid getting entangled and ensnared in a number of wars that were happening at that time. And so there were remnants of a number of tribes that came together to live as brothers. You probably have heard of some of those tribes: the Narragansetts, Mohegans, the Stonington, Farmington, Neshantucket, all of those folks, all of those villages, all of those tribal people. There were remnants of those tribes that came together to live as brothers, and that formed the Brotherton tribe. So, Polly. Polly is one of the women that our tribe made a recommendation to Ms. Burns for representation in this project. Polly is the oldest in time of each of the weavings. So she may not be the oldest chronologically by age, but she's the oldest in time of when she lived as related to these other women who are included in these banners today. Polly was on the eastern shores of the United States. Her grandfather was the second American Indian to go to Princeton, which is, can you imagine, back in those days, like how unbelievable and what a challenge, what a life that would be for her grandfather. Wilted Grass was his name. There is also 2 generations below her then, her granddaughter was also named Polly. Polly was a sibling set of 9, and as young children, their father had fought in the Civil War and was killed. And so her mother moved herself and 9 children through the Erie Canal, and they made their journey over to central Wisconsin with the forced relocation. Mary has depicted at the bottom here, you can see a map that represents the eastern shores where our relatives were located, and the journey that was taken. The Great Lakes are represented here, but this is the path that was traveled to get to central central Wisconsin. With our story, I shared with you that our tribe was amalgamated tribe, several tribes that came together to live as brothers. So our tribe is in a different position than the other tribes who are present and represented here today. We are not presently federally recognized. It's something that we have been fighting for literally for generations. And so We're grateful to be here. We're still here. We strive, we thrive. Here we are, as Barbara had said earlier with regard to all Indians. But in my community, on behalf of Brother Tongue Indians, I just want to say, yes, we are still here. And we're grateful to be here.
My name is Leilani Kasowski. My husband likes to tease me that I'm the Polynesian Pollock. Just a little levity as we move on. Unisenchi Awela Shokwe, that is speaking in Mansi language. That was the first language that I was introduced to and able to start to learn some of our language. Mohican is also becoming a spoken language. We have teachers, and honestly, when I hear the word Kunamante, which means greetings, hi, how are you, sort of thing. Also in Muncie, I would say Kolomalsi. There's differences, there's similarities, and if Jessica and I were able to go into language class together, I think we'd have a blast. Today I'm here to speak about my grandmother, the Tusqua, the gatherer. Her name was Bernice Davids Miller Pigeon. Grandma, I'm her oldest grandchild. I turned 65 this year. She had 12 children, helped raise 12 children. They're a family that took in children, anybody who needed a home. They were always welcome in my grandmother's household. And that's something that I think is a trait that carries on in Indian country, that people will take in and care for all our relatives. And we think of our relatives as being all things, all part of creation. So reflecting on Grandma, she was a gatherer. She liked to gather plant medicines. She liked to gather information. She liked to gather knowledge. She liked to share with anybody and everybody who came along. As a young person, I was one who would drive her to go to various schools and help other children in classrooms learn about our culture. And it was something that she wasn't so comfortable doing, standing up in front of the others and speaking, but she had the attitude, the can-do attitude, that someone has to do it, it needs to get done, and let's go. So that was one of my major teachings growing up with my grandmother. When you look at her here, she often didn't have her eyes open for photos. So to have this photo of her, and I can hear her saying, yeah, that would be her way. Somebody would say, do you want some more? You know, it was a good thing when you would expect someone to say, you're welcome. She didn't say, you're welcome. She said, yo, or That was the way it came out. And so I did not realize myself until I was married that my husband said, how come you don't say you're welcome? I said, Well, that's what my grandma did. That's how it was for us. So it took a little bit once I learned more about our language that it's like, okay, this is where some of that came along. It may have transitioned some in sounds and what have you, but still it was her way, so it became my way. We're Turtle Clan, or Tequab, and she also is wearing a tribal symbol called the Many Trails. Mary also depicted it here in the weaving, and that stands for strength, hope, and endurance. And that leads back to the stories of all of us with our resilience coming from the East Coast, the many changes, the many removals, the many upheavals, the many ways that we needed to survive. I actually am Stockbridge Muncie Mohican. I'm also Oneida. I'm also Brotherton. And I'm very proud of all of my heritage. And there's got to be something else mixed in there. But, I just know for sure that that is part of me. I also know that my enrollment number is number 596, but that's not me. That's a number that the government gave me. And so that goes on to that whole discussion about blood quantum. we don't believe that we have to have a blood quantum to be part of a tribe. And that was something my grandmother's fought very hard for everybody to kind of come to some better understanding of how we are, who we are, know our story, and then get out there and share it so that more people can learn, so the dialogue can be opened and we can have discussions so people can have better understandings. She had a large family, a lot of grandkids, and got to the point at Christmas time, she loved to hand out a pair of socks to each one, and she'd get to a point and say, and what's your name? I know you belong to that one, but I can't remember your name. But that was okay because she had, last count, there was over 200 of us. And that was when she was still alive. So between grandchildren and great-grandchildren already, at Christmas time at her house, it was standing room only. And to think of how long did it take her to buy that many socks even? Those are really good memories of her. Gathering plant medicines, sharing our history, sharing our story, and having the courage to stand tall and be proud and walk with grace is an important lesson for my grandmother, Bernice, Natusqua, Davids, Miller, Pigeon. Anisha.
Okay, I'm gonna get you guys up and standing, and you're gonna dance with me. I am also a dancer. I was wondering if I could get a swan feet. And the swan, as we know, her wings are out, right? If you're able to, I know there's not a lot of room. I'm just gonna go around just a little bit. She is Yorugan, and that is her Onyatoaga name. She who carries aid. So she comes from the Oneida Nation. So she became the second Native American female doctor in the United States in 1902. Born Mohawk Indian in 1876, she married Charles Hill, an Oneida Indian, and moved with him back to Oneida, where he built a house on a farm. They practiced medicine, but didn't have a Wisconsin license. So she practiced informally in her kitchen. The doctor on the Oneida Reservation left to serve in World War I, and so more and more people came to her. And I'm going to share a little story in a little bit about that. Influenza was rampant, and she and her 6 children became sick too. Charles contracted appendicitis and died in 1916, leaving Rosa to raise their small children, run the farm, and doctor all those who came to her. In this era, Native American people were denied access to hospitals and health education. Child mortality was 3 times the national average. Dr. Hill learned herbal medicines, remedies from Oneida medicine men and women, and incorporated those skills in her kitchen clinic for 40 years. She made house calls, taught preventative medicine, and accepted food as payment for her services. Though she had a heart attack in 1946 that left her blind in one eye, she continued practicing from her home. In 1949, she received the Doctor of the Year award from the American Medical Association. Woo. That same year, she was named Indian of the Year in Chicago. Perhaps most importantly to her, That year, she was also adopted as a tribal member of the Oneida and given a name, Yodagan. Yodagans? She who carries a. Dr. Hill died in 1952, and 2 years later, the Oneida Church community erected a monument in memory of Rosa. The inscription reads, "Physician, Good Samaritan, and friend of people of all religions and community," erected to her memory by the Indians and white people. It includes, "I was sick and you visited me." Mary's design depicts Dr. Hill's adoption as requested by her family, showing her with Melissa O. Cornelius in the background. Mary included portions of the Oneida tribal logo and tribal belt, important symbols to the tribe, which you'll see down here. So the story, one of the stories that was shared was that a young boy, real young, went to Minoka Hill. He fell and he injured his arm. So this little boy went to her and charged him 75 cents. Okay? Charged this little boy 75 cents. So many moons later, as the boy got older, Minoka Hill had to get her roof fixed. And a young man came over and fixed her roof. And when she looked at her bill, she saw it was 75 cents. It was a little boy. It was a little boy. So he returned that favor. So I love that story. I love that story. And so now I'm going to move over and introduce Diana Miller. Diana Miller, born and raised on the Menominee Reservation, grew up during the termination era, and at the age of 18, she moved up and off the reservation, brave, strong Menominee woman, and she left to Appleton, big city compared to the reservation. She moved to Appleton and got a job, then moved to Milwaukee, where she went to school. She got a job with the health department, went to UW Milwaukee. After that, went to Marquette University. She studied labor law and conflict resolution, which for somebody in politics, that's very important. So she also, from 1993 to 2008, she became the first American Indian woman staff representative of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees in Madison. Diana became one of 3 American Indian women elected from Wisconsin to participate in the International Year of the Woman. Whew, another one. She was also founder of the American Indian Caucus of the Menominee County Democratic Party and was a member of the 8th Congressional District Executive Board of Democratic Party of Wisconsin. And still today, you'll see Diana Miller, still highly political in the political arena, and you'll also see her at powwows dancing, because she is also a dancer. As you see, this is part of her outfit, one of her outfits, and you'll notice too the design in her dress and in her bag. So these are representative of who she is, where she comes from. And sometimes you'll see designs that maybe just look like triangles or shapes that you're familiar with. However, they are representative and symbolic of, again, maybe the trees, the mountains, the hills, the floral designs. Okay, so they're representative of who we are and where we come from. Behind her is her grandmother, born in the late 1800s, Chimon Louise Amor. She was an integral member of the Menominee Nation leadership. She was also a medicine woman. You hear about medicine men a lot. However, she was one of our very important medicine women. She also traveled to Oshkosh with the delegation of Menominee men, and being the only woman, she was attended with them to celebrate Chief Oshkosh. And so in this tapestry, you'll see also her, right here, her dress as well. Very symbolic to who she is and where she comes from. Sometimes it's symbolic to her clan as well. I apologize, I did not introduce myself. My name is Marla Mikimitas, and Akayan, Kayas Mamachitaw Natawam, Wasa Natotan, Nanayo Ominihika, and Iskuwakian, Ochikatsia Inaka. So I am Marla Mikimitas. I come from the ancient beings people. That's what we call ourselves. You may know us as Menominee or Omatnamanev, people of the wild rice. And I am Bear Clan. I come from Bear Clan. And I live on the Menominee Reservation up north, although from here it's south. So, and I'm just honored to share the ladies' stories, and also that they're still with us. These ladies are still with us, sharing their stories and continuing their legacy here. And again, I'm just honored to continue to share their stories and a little bit of mine as well. Natural lighting.
My name is Sam LaGrew. I'm from Red Cliff, Wisconsin. Let me start again. Kabe de Dung Makwarakwe, Indigenous. Waaswaaganing, Indujba, Makwa, Nindode, Nemin. No, that's not right. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. And I'm speaking for Tinker Schumann. Tinker Schumann, Migzi Ikwe, Eagle Woman. She is from Lake the Flambeau Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. Tinker is deeply respected within the Ojibwe Nation of Lake the Flambeau as an Eagle Staff carrier, woman pipe carrier, sweat lodge leader, Ogichida, Chide Wigom, big drum, dreidel dress dancer, and ceremonial sun dancer, and moon dancer. A healer, a poet, and an artist. Tinker lives her culture and beliefs and inspires others to do so as well. She has dedicated her life to the Anishinaabe culture, from core spiritual beliefs and customs to songs, dances, regalia, and language. She is a role model for Native women because you can see the 7 teachings and the way she lives her life. Wisdom. She has the credibility of a well-respected elder to ensure that all are doing things in a way that is grounded in Anishinaabe culture and values. She is also a keeper of Anishinaabe oral history. Respect. Tinker is embraced by people of all spiritual faiths because she lives a good-hearted life and respects all people's spiritual pathways, as well as all living beings. Bravery. Tinker is a protector, defender, and provider. As an Ogichida Ikwe warrior woman, she has stood up for Anishinaabe rights in very difficult times. Honesty. Tinker is honest with people without causing harm. Humility. Tinker has generously and compassionately supported others without seeking recognition. Truth. Tinker speaks her truth, lives her truth, and uses her truth to help others. Love. Tinker is spiritually grounded. And shows the kind of peace that one attains when they are clear in their love for Creator. She loves others with an open heart, and they in turn love her back. Tinker's work as an alcoholic and drug abuse counselor has helped many people. She serves on the board for the Waaswaaganing Indian Bowl Living Arts and Cultural Center. She authored the book, Reborn in the Sun, co-authored the book, A Healing Blanket, and produced the CD, All My Relatives. Tinker also organizes Mother Earth Water Walks, teaches the Ojibwe language, and has been the cultural coordinator for the Lac Flambeau Elders. For her portrait, Mary depicted Tinker in her traditional regalia, along with the eagle staff, and pipe in front of Strawberry Island, a sacred site for the Lac Flambeau Band. Which
Bonjour, my name is Vicki Ackley. I am the great-granddaughter of my great-grandmother, Alice E. Ackley Randall. Also, to me, she's known as great-grandma Randall. I've known my grandma for the first 8 years of my life, but the impact today is still pure love, and every fond memory I have of her represents what she has done for our community, and that is provide love and strength and resilience. And this weaving represents her spirit name, her Indian name, and it's around the sun lady, and this is the sun in the background. And she is perching wild rice, and that's another staple in our community. She was born in 1900 by Lake Matanga. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that area. And she was born in the natural setting. Somebody mentioned wigwam. However, she did have to transition into the white culture, so to speak. And she did attend boarding school. And there is a write-up, and she has her own statements that she put out there of what it was like. And it's heartbreaking, but the best part about it is she brought the best things about it. She was educated, and she told her family, her grandkids, which are my parents, my grandparents, get educated so you can bring your culture out into the next generations. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today with the weavings. Also, she had to work consistently 5 years for our reservation to have electricity, and that was like in the 60s. So that gives you 60s or 50s. That gives you a perspective of what that was like, not to have, that's just a little while ago. It is a while ago, but it's just, I guess I was amazed on what she had to do to make it a better life for us today. She was also crowned Indian Mother of the Year through the Great Lakes Intertribal Council, and that, I believe, was in 1968. She is a sister to Chief Willard Ackley. Originally, Ackley's originated in Antigo, Wisconsin. I'm not sure if anybody's drove through Highway 64, but there's Ackley Wildlife. And my dad would tell me a lot of stories about how when he was a little boy, they would have to ride from Mole Lake to Ango on Sundays and have the Sunday dinner and visit with family on back in those days. So I was just trying to give you a little picture of the different areas of what it was like for my grandma, what it was like transitioning from my dad's generation, and then where I'm at today. This right here she was also a weaver, so it's kind of like weaving in. It's pretty cool, the weaving in of how everything is falling in place. But this is her work that she's did. So I had a little piece of this and made it into a sash just to represent my great grandma. Yeah, I think that's about it. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us all, and I appreciate seeing everybody here, and thank you. Gwech.
Sige tu ay gisas in kwek, induce ba mang denotem mas kwe bigang menawa Waaswaaganing induce ba Anishinaabe and go. I'm Phyllis Wise, and I am representing Harriet Teresa Lafreniere Balber. She is my aunt. She was born into the Loon clan, which I also belong to the Loon clan, in 1927 to James and Joseph Gurnall Lafreniere. She was raised with 8 siblings. She attended Haskell Indian School and graduated from Bayfield High School. Her early educational experiences, the good and the bad, would have the greatest impact on her life. She often spoke of her love of learning and how it helped to support and change her worldviews. Harriet took great and humble pride in the educational achievements of her 10 children, all of whom established careers in the areas of law, medicine, education, and human and social services. Harriet shared her truth, honesty, strength, humility, wisdom, bravery, and respect. She exuded love and compassion for others and exemplified how one could turn their personal challenges into positive changes. She became a frequent speaker and presenter at regional and national conferences for organizations that supported the work of empowering American Indians. Harriet strongly believed that an individual was their own best advocate in determining their well-being. It was that belief combined with her convictions and values that gave her the strength to leave an unhealthy marriage at a time when most women of the time would not have had the courage to do so. Alone, and as a mother of 10 children, she became the primary caregiver of her family, supporting her children while working full-time. Harriet helped many women struggling with family and domestic issues. She continued to address these issues when she first became a community advocate, and later when she was appointed as tribal judge of the tribe. Although she was reserved in speech and demeanor, she learned to speak both with authority and compassion. Harriet had a hearty laugh and loved spending time with her large family and friends. Her motto was, "Whatever it takes to strengthen your faith in yourself, you need to do it." Harriet's love and compassion for others, combined with her generous spirit, inspired the design of this weaving. Mary wanted to portray Harriet's love of family, community, and life into this smiling portrait. Harriet loved Ojibwe floral patterns and beadwork, and thus Mary embellished this weaving with a floral pattern on top. I was quite young when my Aunt Harriet passed away, but I have really fond memories of her and always laughing, and she was always a happy, very making jokes, and my younger siblings always called her Uncle Harriet. That was a big joke with our family, so, but me good.
All right, I think we have introduced you to all of the beautiful women that are depicted in these tapestries. What we would like to do now is we'd like to invite our youth to come forward. They are willing to offer 2 songs for us. And Mr. Jackson, if you'd like to share a little bit about those, that would be appreciated.
Let's just come out one more round of applause for all of our awesome ladies. Put your hands together, please. So just a little bit about the next two songs. Boys are going to sing an honor song and a traveling song. And part of the honor song is that I know these boys were taught from some of our local mentors in Waaswaaganing, like the Flambeau. Bernie Lemieux, I want to acknowledge him. Was one of the great mentors, and also the Tomahawk Circle, the Mitchell family. Some boys have been inspirational in their development of their singing. As you can see that today they honor that swan dance, and these boys can really rattle out any song that's requested upon to them, and so they're ready to sing an honor song. And part of it about the drum, the Ojaniemi, that's what our Ojibwe term is, Ojaniemi for drum. It's the heartbeat of who we are. So we think about all the conversations that happen today. That's really the heart, soul, the heartbeat, and that leads into this honor song. So I'm going to ask you to please rise at this time. Also leading into this traveling song, as mentioned earlier, this traveling song is important. But when you're traveling along, though, they always say, our elders and a lot of our advisors, they would say that you can put some tobacco or same about. You think about getting home in a safe way, wherever you're traveling to, and so that you find your home in a good way, in a safe place, and you travel safe to everybody that's traveling a long distance. So what that traveling song was. Also, you're welcome to dance to this too. So.
Yeah. Joy, joy,